So for this now I will share my screen. And do you see now my slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Do you see my screen is bigger? Something is get out. So, okay. Welcome to the introduction. Yeah, my name is, as I already told, my name is Robert. Wait. I have it on my other laptop and I don't look into the, so it's better. My name is Robert. I'm a Berlin-based front-end developer and I love to go to conferences. That's why Corona makes me a little bit sad now because I can't go to, for example, like now, JS Poland and ngPoland in Warsaw. Because I love to meet people, love to meet new people and be inspired by other people. And by the way, if you don't hear anything from me or if I'm not clear enough, please say it to me. Yeah. I'm a co-organizer of ngGirls since 2017. Originally, I was also a mentor at the workshop, like we will do tomorrow. And I'm a person who have crazy ideas. Anyway. So, what we are going to do today is an introduction to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or a little bit TypeScript, I would call it. Let's see how far we come. But anyway, it's good for you to get a feeling about all these technologies. And you have also tomorrow the opportunity to ask your mentors questions. So let's start with HTML. Or let me short, when I was in a workshop in Tel Aviv, because ngGirls was found in Tel Aviv, we had one mentor who tried to describe a little bit the component model, but the same way I could do it also with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So imagine you have a house. The structure of the house is the skeleton of the house is the HTML. The how to make the house beautiful, how to you paint the color, how big you make it, how special things you put on it. That is CSS. And to make it functionality, for example, when you want to open a window, this is JavaScript. So just to keep this picture a little bit in your mind, to make it a little bit more visible. So what does HTML doing? It allows us to build websites, like for example our ngGirls web page. And if we do in our browser a right click and view in the source code, let me show it to you. We go on a web page. Well, it will slow the internet, and our website is not the fastest. But anyway, no, I have a German context menu, but you see something like source code, showing your source code. And when you go on it, you see this kind of code a website is made of. This is a little bit not very well structured, but that's the basic source code. There's also another way you will probably work also tomorrow a lot of with. This is when you do go to the developer tools. Usually you find them also here in the last context menu in Chrome. They are just called developer tools. And then you find also the HTML structure in a more beautiful way. So this is very one of the important things you will also do tomorrow, because with this you can inspect your HTML website and you can do stuff. Oh. Go back to these slides. So I just made a smaller version of the website. Like here, it's just for understanding it better. So what we will see later, we have an HTML tag which wraps around the whole website, and inside the body tag we have the actually content we will need later, or we want to see later. But to the details of the structure I will come later. First of all, the history of the HTML. Because originally HTML, so it all started with that in 1989 project at the CERN. This was in Switzerland. There was a project how to share documents, and Tim Berners-Lee, or now Sir Tim Berners-Lee, tried to find a way to make these documents they are sharing over the computer network and make it a little bit more visible to the people. So he invented these HTML. He invented the first web page in August 1991. And this what he did first was later standardized by the W3C. This is a big organization with a lot of developers who try to find standards for the web. The web is a word for websites for the whole ecosystem. Often you hear the term web. Actually, there's also an untold story, because there was also a woman who made something similar before. I know in this book I shared with you, there's the story behind. So if you want to read it later, you will find out who this was. It's a quite interesting story because, I learned a few years ago that she did quite a similar thing, but it went not so popular as Tim Berners-Lee made it. Sadly, sometimes it's marketing, how people marketing themselves. But actually, she did the same. What stands HTML for? You don't have to remember this what it stands for. It's just for making it brighter. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And it has different standards. One of the latest standards is HTML5 currently from 2014. But you see how long it sometimes needs to invent a new standard. So this is also a big thing in the community, or big where people are annoyed of. And when you go to a website, you usually see in front of you see in front of these HTTP S in this case thing. This is stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So this hypertext markup language, which is transferred by the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And let's go back. So, and what does it mean? For example, if we have a website, so the internet consists of a lot of computers, usually also called servers, who stands in big data centers. And in these servers, you can host domains or websites which have a domain. Domain is something which is like when you have a phone number, and this phone number is really, really big, consists of thousands of values, then you need to find something to make it easier to address this. And for this, in the internet world, we had the similar problem with IP addresses. IP addresses are also consisting of a lot of numbers, and nowadays also characters, and nobody can remember these kind of things. That's why they invented domains, domain names. Like here I did, for example, foo.com or bar. de or bar.pl, for example, for Poland. And these stands in data centers, and these data centers are connected to the internet. And also connected to the internet are other people, like we with our computer, called client. And when we just call a website, we are just downloading this hypertext markup language file, this HTML file from the server to our client over this HTTP transfer protocol. And then the browser, when the browser has the HTML page, the browser renders. It means it just proceeds some stuff to make it visible as a website to you. The structure of HTML is actually quite simple. We have these called tags. I don't know why it's called tag, but it's called tag. In German, for me as a German, it's sometimes a little bit weird because tag means something different for me. But in English, it's called tag. You have an opening tag. You see it with these two characters, bigger than and smaller than, and in between there's the name of the tag. And you have the same thing as a closing tag, but with a slash. And the slash means that the tag is closed. And in between, you have the content of this tag. You have different kinds of tags. For example, H1 is for a headline, P is for paragraph, and a few more. I will come to them later. You can also always Google them. So actually, as a developer, you don't know everything out of the box. I also don't know these, I guess, hundreds of tags. Sometimes I just have to Google stuff or have to Google details. So don't worry about if you don't know every tag. Just Google it, or just ask your mentor tomorrow. They will be happy to help you. So we have a few more, like image tag is for displaying images. These are just tags. Div and span are for just wrapping something around. Button is to display a button, and very important, a link tag called anchor is for making links. Just in a very short thing, this overview. Then you have at every tag, you have also attributes. For example, the class attribute. Let me show. Yeah. So, and each attribute consists of a key, the name of the attribute, and a value. In this case, we have the class attribute, which is for styling, for later for CSS, which says to the button, please use these CSS, the styling definition of, in this case, button -- default. But you have also other attributes, and if you find a full list of attributes when you go, I can show it to you shortly. For example, I want to know what the button, which stuff exists, then I can Google button, for example, button space HTML, and I find here at w3schools.com, for example, just one page, a few more on the web. You find here a definition and sample of this HTML tag. Also how to try it yourself out. Come on. So that you can play around with this. For example, do such stuff here, like so. Now it's has a different label on the button, and so on. We will come to such stuff later. And you find also some other stuff, like how is the browser support? Because not every HTML tag or not every CSS definition or not every JavaScript we come to later is supported by every browser. That's the problem of a web developer, because even they have standardized some stuff in such organizations like the W3C, but not every browser vendor has already implemented new features. And this is sometimes a pain in the know what I mean? Yeah, and it's hard for a developer to do those things. And you find what I called about the attributes, the different attributes you can use on a button to make them looking different or give them different additional features. and so on. Find a few more samples. So you can every time you can also Google more such stuff. But I will give you a brief overview about some important buttons. So you have buttons, not HTML tags. So you have key and value, as I tell. Key and value. I told you about the browser. So we have a lot of browsers. I think the most of you know the Chrome browser and the Firefox and the Internet Explorer or now Edge. Anybody knows some of the other browsers? Yeah, Paulina?
Safari, for example,
Yeah, Safari.
and Opera.
Yeah.
And I think that's all from my side.
Anyone else know such browser logos? Okay, yeah, it's hard, and that's the problem why it's sometimes for us a little bit difficult. Also, depending on in which region you are. For example, this was the Y. It's Y in English. It's Yandex. It's very popular in Russia, for example. And the UC browser here. This is, for example, a browser which is very popular in China. And you can find a lot of more browsers, but so you have also different market share, let's say, of browsers. So when you do a website and you do it, for example, for the Polish market, you have a different audience who's using the browsers when you compare to the US or to China. So sometimes when you want to be compatible with your websites, you have to keep this in mind. But what all browsers are doing, they just displaying the HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. But sometimes, depending on how the vendors have implemented it, sometimes a little bit different. Especially in CSS, could happen, and also JavaScript. We have these problems. Vendors are, for example, for Chrome, it's Google. For Edge, it's Microsoft, even if they have now under the hood the same engine as Chrome. And Firefox, it is Mozilla. Or the Mozilla, also called Foundation thing. Yeah, and we have also very old browsers which are not used anymore, so I won't display them. So for development, you need the browser, which is for sure very important. You need an editor. Usually we recommend things like VS Code, Atom, or Sublime, or there's a few other good editors. What you, I think, have maybe when you're a Windows user, you have Notepad++ on your machine. What you never should use, never ever, is, for example, like Microsoft Word. Honestly, my first website I did was Microsoft Word, but it was a nightmare, and it was not really a good thing. So, yeah, a developer would never use Microsoft Word. You have usually at a website, you have also a folder structure. In the classical web development, you will see tomorrow a different kind of structure too. But in a classical website, you need, as I said, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML is structure, CSS for styling it, and JavaScript for making features. And you have also images or other media files you also need. And usually in the classic way, you have these these HTML site as an index .html, and you have folders for your CSS files, folders for your media files like images, and also for your JavaScript. Yeah. Your content again, HTML as a structure, CSS as a presentation. This is the basic for a website. Usually, even when you just have HTML, you have already a website. So, some concrete samples of HTML tags. One very common tag is the paragraph, in short as a P tag. And is the P tag. Oh, I don't know what. Okay, there's missing some content on my slides, but anyway, if you don't have any CSS or whatever, the P tag would be shown in the normal way, like your browser would show it. If you use some CSS later, you can make it green or with a bigger font. For example, if we go to our website, I will shortly show it. HTML. Again, we are on W3 Schools, and when we go on the playground, and so normally it's just shown like this. We can make some other content. Oh, so now I made a mistake. That's the reason why it's looking weird, because it's not closed fully. It's like this, or here. Make like our workshop. And if we want to style it later, like we saw in our slides, we can use also, for example, the style attribute. We'll come later to this, how it will look like. And I would make the color green and the font size 100 pixel. That's very big. Oopsie. So this easy way you can combine HTML with CSS. Usually you won't never, you can make it just for samples. In the later website development, you would never, or you rarely would use inline CSS with the style attribute. But for short things to show, it's quite easy. Usually then, we'll come later, how's it anyway going. So, back to the presentation. So we have the words element and text. Text we already saw with the open, content and closing, and element is the element itself. For example, button element, link anchor element, and so on. We have also different kind of elements like container elements or standalone elements. Container elements is something where you have content in between. Standalone elements don't display any content in between, for example, like the image element or like the break element. They are just for one simple functionality. But in a paragraph, it makes sense to show content in between. Yeah, we have these attributes for providing additional informations. Classes, IDs, language, styles, and so on, and values. I guess the slide is just, basic structure of the website. As I already told, we have this HTML tag. This HTML tag has just this functionality that it's wrapping the whole website around. That later the browser knows, there's an HTML website, and in between I find a lot of HTML content. You have also this doc type. There are different kind of how's the type of the document. In older browsers, on older web development, you have to define some stuff. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to define so much, but usually it's given by your project. Your HTML consists of a head and a body. In the head, we put stuff like, for example, the website title. and the title you see on your browser tab. And inside the body is the whole content of the website. What you also put in your head is also in your reference the path to your CSS files, to your JavaScript files, and so on. This is usually also done in the head. And some other meta things you need, for example, to let Google find your web page easier, and a lot of more. Yeah. The doc type, as I showed you. The HTML tag, the head tag, and the body tag. Sorry, I forgot my slides. What you can also do in HTML is nesting. Nesting means that you have a tag, and inside the tag you can have another tag. For example, if you have this paragraph inside the body tag, this is already a nesting thing. You can, in your mind, you can compare it with like this matroshka. I'm not sure, 100% sure is the right English way. I don't know, is there a Polish name for this? Someone knows this? Then I can learn something.
It's the same in Polish.
Also matroshka. Okay, cool. So I think this is a good way to describe these nesting, just that you can put something in between. So, and the first is opened is also the last which is closed, and so on the order of opening and closing. And when you, like you saw in my sample, just don't write the right closing tag. Usually then your browser tries to close this, and this can result sometimes in little weird behavior. So really make sure that you always open. One of the easiest problems is sometimes a not right closed HTML tag, or not right closed tag. Yeah, and your browser tries to close this, and when 10 years ago or so, the browser didn't do this, and then shows you nothing. Actually, it's a little bit more strict, but it was at those times sometimes also easier to detect bugs, or bugs are problems in the developer environment. Nowadays, yeah, the browser tries to automate a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's sometimes cool because you also don't have to use HTML tags anymore. You just can write P and it would be still this P tag and it would be still working usually. Let's try this out. I haven't tried this out yet here, but let's try it. It should work. Yeah, you see the web page is still displayed because inside the browser tries to add this missing parts. I don't know if we can easily see this. Yeah, you see here you have this HTML head and body, which is just replaced automatically by the browser. So then we have more elements. Paragraphs I already told you. Then we have headings. Oh, there's a typo. We have headings always with H1, H2, H3. It depends on how important or not this headline is. So the most important headline is with H1 and later H2, H3, H4. This is also very important because your Google, when it later tries to crawl your website to just get some data for the Google search engine, it knows, okay, this H1 information is the very important information, and H2, H3 are less important or other important information. And this is also very important because Google, when it later tries to get some data for the Google search engine, it knows, okay, this H1 information is the very important information, and H2, H3 are less important information. And this is also very important because Google, when it later tries to crawl your website to just get some data for the Google search engine, it knows, okay, this H1 information is the very important information, and H2, H3 are less important information. And sometimes developers mix this up also with making the headline bigger or smaller, but you should usually you should define the size of CSS. You should define the size of a headline by CSS and not with the what the browser by default gives you. So you should split these things. The one thing is the markup to define the structure of a website that also the Google crawler can read it, and the other thing is how to style it. Very important in the World Wide Web are links, because links are connecting different websites on my own domain or also on other domains. A link consists of it's called anchor tag. Anchor, like anchor. Also because you have these kind of sometimes you see on websites, you click on something and you can go to another point of the website, and this is also an anchor which you can use, but you can also jump to another web page, to an external link. Here, for example, go to the web page of Google. Here, going to another HTML file inside my website. Target blank means just, and I often have to Google how is this right written. It just opens another tab. Or you have a link you often see at websites. Oh, email us. And then you don't write an URL. You just write mail to, that also called colon, and then the email address. And then when you click on it, your email program is opening. Let's shortly try this out. Here you see also on the website you can switch between the different HTML tags. My website is my internet connection is sometimes a little bit slow. So when I now go here on the thing in my same window, or in this window, we opened this thing. Which is a bad. So imagine this as a normal browser window. Actually, what is here in between is an iframe, and iframe just shows the content of another website. But you can also do like this: target blank, and you see. And when you then run this and go, it will open up another tab and the website you want to show. So, and when you, what I also told you, want to show an email address, you can, you're like, when you want to email me or email someone, then you just have to use this mail to logic. And now, usually then should my email, where is it? Yeah, now it asks me, oh, with which program I should open this. And for example, with Outlook. And that would be easily open. This you also can do. Usually nowadays you don't use it too much, and then it's also filled in the to thing. Usually nowadays you don't use this too much because there are robots outside which are crawling this information and then sends you a lot of spam. Usually you hide this with some JavaScript logic. For these links you have in your anchor, you have absolute and relative links. Relative links are depending on the location where you are. So imagine you have your folders on your computer. And inside the folder is another folder and so on. And when I have, for example, this link like here's it emg/filename.jpg is the link to another image. This emg's img is inside a folder, and you can do the same. Imagine the same thing with links. For example, here in this absolute thing, you have /chapters/ and in these /chapters, this will mean you have another subfolder, and inside the subfolder there's this Detroit.html or another more Detroit subfolder. And let me show it you in the editor. For example, relative links are things like this. Or do we have it on our ngGirls webpage? Yeah, let me go on our ngGirls webpage. So I see the website, and for example, when I go to the about section, no, that was the wrong one. Sorry. When I go to, for example, the ngPoland workshop, you see here in the browser address bar ngPoland-2020. And this is another subfolder later on the server. Yeah. And you can imagine the same thing with other stuff. But what you also saw when you clicked on the about, you saw that it was jumping. Wait, go back. When we were at the main page, you saw I clicked here on the about, and it was jumping down because it's this anchor I told you about. And for this anchor, you can make it in different ways. You can also do some JavaScript magic, but the most basic way in the web is just make this ref and / and then this hashtag. This hashtag is saying please use this as an anchor, and then the name of the anchor. And at the bottom, or no, yeah. And when here in the bottom, where this anchor is jumping to, we have the ID about and the hashtag about and this ID about are corresponding to each other. And so the browser knows where to jump. With this easy way, you can jump from one part of the website to another part of the website, like you see here when I'm just clicking. And for external or absolute links are just with the domain in front of. So google.com, ng-girls.com, and so on. And then usually when you switch from one domain to another domain, then you use the absolute path, and when you be inside your website, you can use the relative path. Images also have such a path. You see here in the source attribute. Images are standalone elements, and they don't need a specific opening tag or closing tag. They just have this tag, and in between this source thing. And you know with the / that this image is closed. The alt attribute here is just for screen readers when people have some special software which is reading the website, for example, and says, oh, at this logo, this should mean this and that. And for this, it's very important to name the alt attribute too. But for us, for now, it's not so important to learn HTML. And you can also do some So you can do relative or absolute things as we did before. For example, I now have here the playground of the web page. And a picture of a woman in this case. And when I want to use another picture, and if I'm a little hacker, I can use my developer tools. Or usually I could also here take the image address. You find here also in the developer tools. Here you see the address of the logo of the, for example, from Google. And you can just copy the link address. And when we go back to our playground and just replace this relative link with an absolute link and say run, then we have the Google logo. With width and height, we can also change the size of the logo. As you see, all very small. Please never reference big logos with 2, 3, 5 MBs and just resize them to small because it doesn't, it's not nice for your user. So now you don't see the logo because it's very small. You can do weird stuff with this. Okay. Yeah, I just mentioned it here. It is self-closing. So image tag is a self-closing tag. Okay, my slides are still not perfect. You have also the break tag, which breaks, and for example, can give you a new line inside a paragraph or another section. This is also self-closing thing with BR break. I have to, you see, sometimes my slides are still improvable. Anyway, nobody of us is perfect. So, and we have lists, and here you can see again this nested structure. You have ordered or unordered list. Usually you use unordered list with UL, unordered list, or OL with ordered list. And inside these tag, you have list items with LI, with the LI tag, and in this list item you can define stuff. If we go to our playground, we can simply use it here. So we have UL tag, which wraps the whole list. And then we can define. So this will do nothing. It will just say, oh, there's a list. And when we do an list, item 1 and item 2, then it will show me a list of items, as you see here. If you want to have it ordered, just simply make, oh, you see also already in this editor, it marks red because it says here is a problem. Please always have a look when your editor shows you a problem, solve it. And now you have 1, 2, and so on. It's, yeah, just a list. Very easy thing you use for a lot of stuff. In this case, it's also quite useful to make an indentation with a tab or spaces that you can later easily structure your markup. It's not relevant for the, mostly it's not relevant for the view when you do these indentations. there are a few hacky things where it can matter, but usually it doesn't matter. But it's easier to read your HTML code. And for example, when you have forgot a closing tag, then you see it because here it's missing the OL. Yeah, you see the browser still doing something, but the editor says, "Oh, here, please check your code." And lists can used in different ways. You see here some examples, also with images and so on for references, for list of references, and yeah, blah blah. There's a lot of stuff, and you can design this kind of list. You have a standard list, but you can design the lists in which way you want, with bullets, with numbers, and with whatever you want to have as a bullet, for example. And you have inside the website comments, marked green here. These are with these lower than Ausrufezeichen, you know what I mean, this character here, and dash dash. You have it in English?
Exclamation mark, I think.
Exclamation mark, yeah. I had in my mind the German term, Ausrufezeichen. You know this. Yeah, and inside you have the comment, and then you have dash dash and greater than. And this will not shown on the website. So when I put such kind of comment, it's just for the web developer to make some hints, or to show structure. So when I do this, we see a foo, but foo's not shown. So it's just yeah, as a comment. And sometimes, and sometimes when you want to uncomment or comment out things, you also use the same kind of things, because then you put it inside the comments, and it's still there on the website, but you won't see it. Could be also useful for some stuff. Yeah. Wow. And you have tables, also a very important element. It's for showing tables with the table tag, tr the row, and then you have th for the header and td for the data cell, for the table cell. And for each row, you make this tr, and then you have a new cell. You can use this different stuff, like normal tables, or you can also, in the past, of web development, they also structured the websites with tables sometimes. Nowadays you won't do this, but in the good old times we don't have so much other options. So also here in the playground, I make a tr row, and inside I make it cell. Oh, with one cell. You don't see any outline, but it's still there. For sure, you can do also an outline when you do some CSS magic. Outline. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, it was not this. It was, sorry, border. Pixel solid green. Oh no. Wait, this was the wrong one. This is now what we're doing is a little bit CSS magic. I wanted to show you that there are cells, so I do a small border. Here you see green, a green border, and for sure you can do it on all TDs too, depending on what you want to do. If it's So with the developer tools, you can also manipulate the DOM and checking out and trying out stuff. This is sometimes very useful. For example, when you want to know if your text fits in the web page, then you can also do it by the developer tools. But you will also see it tomorrow. Let's go a little bit forward. You see, it's a lot of stuff. I try to. I think in the HTML section we have nearly done. And you have special characters. For example, like the copyright symbol, and also some like the euro symbol or trademark symbol. You have a special term which decode this, and later. In the past, it was very important because the browser could not know every kind of character, and then it shows you some weird character. And with this kind of structure, you can here the end, then the name of the thing, and then the semicolon. You could define which kind of special character do you have. And nowadays, you have with the UTF-8 character class, which is mostly used. You don't have so much problems anymore, but in the past it was a huge issue. So here, for example, I put and amp. This is for the end. You will see it when I do it away. Now you see I have here the and character. I can have the euro character. Need to make it a little bigger. Sorry. Or add trade, and that you find also a full list on the internet what can be done. So, for example, like I don't know, Google TM, because it's a trademark, you want to show this. So here, for example, you have a full list available. You can go to and check. You have also other stuff. Oh, there are also other lists. Maybe this list is not the best. You have also other lists, but anyway, go back to my slides. Present. Then in HTML we have a thing inline and block elements. A block elements always started with a new paragraph or with a new line, and an inline element is in between. So you see also here in the slide, you have one element, then you have the next element, and so on. All the HTML tags are defined as block or inline element. For example, the paragraph element is a block element. So each time I do a new paragraph, it makes a line break, and then it starts. Or the list or the header thing. Inline elements are like the image tag, for example, or span or other stuff, which is shown inline. So again, if we go to our editor, you will see it. For example, I put a P here. Here, then you see. Oh wait. Maybe let's put it outside. Put the table away. So you have here this paragraph. And when you do another paragraph and another paragraph, you have a line break. But when you do, for example, a span, which is an inline element, then you will see that it shows next to each other. So each time when you do, so it doesn't matter if you do it this way or if you in your code structure it this way, it doesn't matter, it will always show the same. This is what is meant when you see something called block or inline elements. And later with CSS, you can also manipulate and make a block element to an inline element and so on. Yeah, div is, for example, block level element. It groups other elements together, but on its own, it doesn't show anything. You can later format this with CSS definitions. For example, here you have the ID header, and then you later you style with your CSS how the header should look like. For example, I made here samples. I made a CSS definition align right with some CSS definitions. We come later how is this structured. And with this, I just aligned it to the right, make the color purple and the font weight bold. And in this case, and another case when I don't use this class, it's just shown different. And the span is this inline thing I showed you already. And HTML5 also offers a lot of other elements, for example, to make your content more structured. That later the Google crawler could also know on a blog, for example, this is an article, this is a header, this is a footer, and so on. And also you can include video players that you can easily just show a video and don't have to program around how the controls are. And yeah, you see here that's a little bit better structured. Like here you have just divs, blah, blah, blah. And here you have a header, a main tag, a side tag, footer tag, and so on. What I forgot is my most funny tag, the tag I love the most. It's because it's the input tag. Usually on the workshop day, I show my attendees this because can do funny stuff with it. A usual input tag looks like this. Like here you can type something in between. You have a placeholder attribute, type some text, and then when you type in something, so you can easily by an attribute, for example, do stuff already. You can also give it a different type, for example, like color. Then you have a color picker, or you have date, which gives you a date picker, a very basic date picker. When you want to do more specific, you have to style it on your own. Or for example, when you do number, you just can use numbers, and on your mobile phone, the cool thing, it will show you also the keyboard of numbers. When you have seen it sometimes, or phone, just for phone numbers, you have the same thing. It's not tell, was it tell? Oh, it's not working anyway. But you can also use the type password. And then everything I write in here is just hidden. And when you hint for hackers, when you have this autofill of your passwords on your browser, and you let a person on your computer, or never let the person on your computer when you have this autofill, because when I have here this input field and I have some knowledge about HTML, so I can type here a very secret password, which is autofilled. But when I change the attribute, you see my hidden password. So be careful with that. So sometimes it's cool to have HTML knowledge to do such stuff. And here I also mentioned some common errors like not closed tags, or I copied some stuff from other developers, I used words, or we have inline styles which are just doing weird things. There's a lot of common errors which you are face of when you're developing in HTML. The next will come a CSS. I know it was a lot of stuff. Is there a question I shortly should answer? I know it's a lot of information. Because if not, I would just move forward to CSS. Anyway, you don't have to worry because I give you an overview and later you have an easier feeling on the workshop day. So you don't have to know everything on detail. Just that you have seen it, that you have seen how it's working, and tomorrow you can play more around with that. Okay? So, then I come to CSS. I hope I can be a little bit faster, that we can also play a little bit more around. CSS just makes the web beautiful, so it colorizes stuff, it make colors, it make font sizes, and so on. When I should describe CSS, I usually show these GIF you see on the left. Of Griffin, I think it's the name of the guy, and yeah, sometimes CSS for experienced developers looks like this because they do one CSS definition and another CSS definition, and then one CSS definition overrides some stuff, and then you can do weird things, and sometimes it's good to know the basic of CSS well and to develop it well, because when people doing fast development, they trick a lot of around. And for example, if you are in a company and you have an agency who should fastly develop you some stuff, it could be very cool code you get, but sometimes you get code which just fits to your context. If you change a little bit the context, the whole CSS structure will be blown away. Or you see with your developer tools what they have done in between, what kind of weird things. For example, which could make you crazy. For example, when we have, we don't need a closing text, sorry. For example, we have this paragraph or this span tag, like you've seen before, and you have another span tag without the password, please. So it's shown right short after, but when I'm lazy, probably I will do it when I want to make a paragraph things. I just make a CSS definition or make it directly here on with these inline styles I told you. And then I use a CSS definition for displaying it as a block element. And it will show you this way, and you later will wonder, oh, why is this span element not shown inline, why it's showed as a block? And this kind of weird thing could happen outside the world, that people making code which is working but not always makes sense. So when you do CSS, it's sometimes very cool to know the basics and to know how to well structure CSS. CSS is very big, and when I first learned CSS, my boss said, oh, go to the CSS definitions, these CSS spec, which looks like don't know if not CSS RFC. RC is a document which describes technologies. For example, here for CSS, and then you have a lot of things you never understand. And my boss said those times, oh, please just read it and learn it, and yeah, just do it without any person who can help me. Nowadays, you have a lot of more websites and you have workshops who help you. So it's a little bit easier to understand, to swim in this water of CSS. So, but when you sometimes struggle with CSS, remember this funny GIF and everything would be easier. So you're not alone. Don't worry. So CSS consists a CSS definition. This whole thing is called a CSS definition, and it's called it consists of a selector and a declaration of a special type of what you want to declare. In this case, a color, but it could be more. You could also have another declaration for font size and so on. And this declaration consists of a property and a value, just for the naming. So selector, which elements should be selected of this CSS definition, and then the declaration what the CSS definition is doing. And for example, here you have the selector, you have multiple selectors, but you have also multiple declarations like color and font size. So, and each line here is a declaration. And here we see also a huge difference of cascading style sheets. So CSS means cascading style sheets. We'll come back later why. The most basic thing is a CSS class. And this class is defined by a dot and the name of the CSS class. And later when you use it in your HTML, you just write the attribute class and then the name. In this case, foo. And you can also have multiple classes written with .foo.active, for example, and then here you have is the definition that you use here in the HTML foo, and then space, and then another class. And you can a lot of more adding classes like you want. They don't always have to have a CSS definition. They can also do some random classes you will maybe need later for JavaScript. Then you have IDs. IDs are classes are used multiple times. Can be used for elements used multiple times. So that you, for example, define this color orange for a paragraph, but you can also define it for the button, as here described. And an ID compared to that is unique. It should just refer to one element. And is here defined with the hashtag and the name, and inside the CSS file and inside the HTML file, it's ID and then equals and the name of the. Then you have HTML. You can also use HTML tags as selectors. So this will say every button should have the color or the every button tag. So every button. So the selector is every button, and then in this button, the button text should be colored blue. And then you have this cascading, which means it's more specific. So you say, in this case, inside the posts, the div of posts, it's missing an S, sorry. Inside of the posts, you have this class foo .foo.link, and this special button should have this kind of CSS definition. So color white means white text and font size of 12 pixels. I will shortly show you this in the wild. So again, we have a button, some text. So you see here this is labeled as some text. When I now do my CSS definitions, so I make another kind of CSS way of defining CSS inside a block, surrounded by inside a style block. So you can group more CSS definitions, and you can also have another way with referencing files. You see in the head usually. You see there. Where's the style reference? Here's the inline style. I did things, but also the website of WC Schools did the same. Just you can define more CSS definitions. So very basic. I said, okay, the selector button. Just I declared that it should have the color red, and also here formatting doesn't make a difference. It just gives you a more readable code. I want to have a font size of 30 pixels. So it's getting bigger, and font weight, for example, bold. So it means you have bolder text and so on. And when I do another button on my website, it shows the same kind of style. But when I now say, okay, please, instead of using an HTML selector, I'm using a class selector, my class. Then the buttons are shown as default, as the default styling is. And when I want to have the specific thing, I have to use these CSS class. So you see one button I marked with the class is shown in my CSS definition, and the other is shown as default. And this nesting is also, all these more specific things, when you, for example, say, as we saw, posts. So now you see it's again in the default way, because I said, okay, just go inside an element which has the class post, and there it should be an element which has the class myClass. It could be looking like this. And with nesting, you see this kind of nesting that it's, so again, now it's working. And just these, which is inside the post, because when I do, you saw before, just using the class myClass won't make a difference. If I can also use the same, as I said, it's have to be an element. So it don't have to be necessary a div element. It could be also, for example, a paragraph. A button inside paragraph. And now it's working because it's inside this other element. And this is this cascading, you can imagine a little bit similar to this nesting we already know from HTML. So what it does, it makes it more specific so that you can select more specific elements of your website. And this could be sometimes useful because you don't want to style every button the same way. And sometimes when you already did a definition of a, for example, of a button class, it will be used for every button. And then you have to override it because you did it for the whole website. And then you have to do weird things like this. I use an ID, and an ID is more specific, and then I can say override color blue. And then still not working, and I have to be more specific. Oh, ID my override. You see now how crazy could be CSS. Yeah, I had to do. I made a mistake. Now the color is blue because I overridden this with ID and unique element. And for this, how you can override stuff, sometimes when developers say, oh, I have no idea how to override all the stuff, they are going to be lazy. And then it's getting harder and harder. So then they using the style attribute, the inline style I told you about, and say, no, I don't want to have blue, I want to have green. So now don't want to have red, and now I want to have green. The same you can do also with the other button. And then it's getting more and more specific, and in the worst case, when nothing helps, for example, and I say, oh, I still want to have blue, then I use, and please don't use this often, you use the you know this character, again forgot it, and the important. And with this important, you can override the overridden. And this is the problem, some problem of CSS. You do some not so specific thing, and then you have to override it each time. And this creates a lot of code. And sometimes it's more cleaner when you define it more clearly or use the CSS classes, the classes directly. And how this order is of what can be overridden, you see in my next slide. So the least important is the element. So like button tag, p tag, or whatever. Then you have a CSS class. Then you have the ID. And then you have the inline CSS with the style attribute. And then when nothing helps us, you use the important declaration. Oh, yeah. And so, and this is what also meant with Cascade. So you have these different priorities, which have to, which the browser just reads and see. Oh, I have to display it this or that way. And yeah, you can do a lot of more weird stuff with CSS. No, I think so. Everybody understood the basic of CSS and could, for example, say me if I now want to do. Oh no, wait. Let's make a sample. Oh. This button. So can anybody remember the structure of CSS a little bit? Just a volunteer? Don't be shy. If you make a mistake, that's totally normal. That happens also to me. Of what you a little bit remember. Anyone wants? No? No. Okay, fine. I make it a little bit easier. When I want to do now, give my button selector another color. What will I do? Paula?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Sorry. You can change the background color, for example.
Yeah. So like this. And now you have the background color, for example. If you and what we had with color is like color, just. Yeah. You also could play like this. Background color is also a nice option. Then you have this way of button. And what I want to say, I totally forgot. You can also have, when you have a color, you have predefined colors, but you can also define color with a special code. You maybe have seen, this RGB system from art, red, green, and blue. With some codes, you can do the same. For example, the code of red is this FF with is the hexadecimal system, and as FF and 4 zeros, I have the red, I have the background color red. When I do this, I have a different background color, yellow, because it's mixing up the color with the different flavors of red, green, and blue. And when you have your editor, let's go, for example, to an online editor like StackBlitz, we can also use for tomorrow. Then we have nowadays also some helps to do this, because you not in the beginning you not can remember everything, and that's totally normal. Oh, 30 minutes left, but that's fine. So so here we have can also maybe a better playground. So I have, yeah, go away. So you see also maybe what your editor nowadays helps you, because it shows you the kind of text you can use. For example, P with paragraph, and it will, depending on the editor, also close it automatically or show you some errors. Make it bigger. Also show you some errors when you have done them, usually. No, it doesn't. Okay, StackBlitz don't do it. But anyway, so I have here this paragraph, and yeah, I know. And when I go to my CSS file, and I want to define the color, here I can see it's already, and you see the same in the developer tools, predefined colors. And when I do the same with the color code, here you can see in the editor what kind of color it is. And usually, yeah, I know in Visual Studio Code it's working. When you click on this, you see also color selector. It's not working here in StackBlitz, wherever. Yeah, and you see now the paragraph is done red. And here you see what you see now as difference. The CSS is defined in a separate file. So the index HTML or the index HTML in this frame has a reference to my CSS file, which is, oh no, okay, StackBlitz don't show it this way. Sorry. But it's in a separate CSS file, and usually you would reference this in this HTML file. And what we have also in the sample, we have also some JavaScript code. This is a little bit, and so yeah, here in this in StackBlitz is doing another way of what we can do nowadays. Here it is imported by JavaScript. So if we uncomment this import, the whole styling shouldn't work. Should not work, but it's working. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, then I don't know how StackBlitz is working. Yeah. Okay, you can do a lot of weird things, and sometimes CSS do things you can't. Oh, for example, a common CSS problem is when you, for example, do something like this. You define a color blue, and then you define later the color red. Here you see the selector. Then always the last thing. I think TechBlitz has a problem with a bug. Now it's working. It always used this last working state. That's the reason why nothing was happened. So when you defined a blue, things in the text is blue, and when you define again, but with another color, it's overwritten. And always the last definition wins. But when you do a mistake, for example, a missing closing thing, then here StackBlitz luckily shows you some error, but usually on very native websites don't show you anything. So this is just done by the online editor, but usually it will show you the website, but will show you no styling. Maybe we can see it here in the editor. And then you're wondering, oh, why it's not working. No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, modern editors. They are fixing a lot of stuff around. And usually when I do this, nothing should work. But it's just using the last, now I see what I wanted to show you. You see it's using this definition until the error occurs. And when I fix the error with these character here, then these other CSS definition is recognized. So CSS breaks at this point where you make a wrong definition. And in very native web development, that's a problem because not always, as a modern editors, it is shown to you. And when you're sometimes struggling, why it's also nothing working in CSS, maybe you have missed some closing. What is the name of the character? My English is going unwell.
You mean bracket?
Brackets, yes. Brackets, perfect. For example, if I could show... Now, currently I could show you this window. But there are also plugins like Bracket Pair Colorizer who shows you the brackets in different colors. And then sometimes it's a little bit easier to recognize which brackets goes to which definition or which code. So this was a little bit also to CSS errors when you have some problems. And the last thing for the last 20 minutes is TypeScript, or actually I said JavaScript. JavaScript and TypeScript are a little bit similar, but so TypeScript is JavaScript with types. A type is something like string or number or boolean, and usually JavaScript has no defined types. You can use every kind of type, and you can override something with another type, which is cool in the beginning. You see the same in Python, for example. It's another programming language, but later you found out that it could be a problem when you always can override stuff, and then it could occur to weird behavior. So a small company called Microsoft just invented TypeScript. JavaScript just with types on top. And this helps you a little bit to write more write code which you can trust more. Again, like in our picture, JavaScript is for making like opening the windows or putting on the lights, or for example, for some functionality. For this is are scripts, JavaScript or TypeScript. And here in this onion, you have these basic JavaScript, which is used by all browsers and compatible to all browsers. Then you have some features in newer JavaScript, ES6, which are not compatible with all browsers. And then you have a problem because you can't use it in your browser, in your website. But you have things like TypeScript or Babel or other languages which translate this back to ES5 JavaScript. TypeScript will look like a little bit like this, and you will see also tomorrow's structures like this. For example, you have a class. A class is here we have a button component, but you can also call it like the house component. Back to our visual sample, the house component. Oh, maybe I have here. Yeah, and you can have different properties for your house. Okay, maybe yeah. Well, let's do it with the button. It's easier here as I've written. So your button component, or just compare it with your house component. So your button can have different properties. For example, a string. That's a set of characters, a text, you would say, which has these click me. For example, you can also think of as a variable. You also know from math, from school times. And this variable, you could say it as a variable. It's not 100% correct, but name it as a variable. It's easier to understand. Has the type string, and and has the value inside these single characters of the smiley and click me. Then you have a constructor which is constructing the class. So the class is a blueprint of something. So like a building plan of buttons, for example. And when you have multiple buttons, you just want to define it once. For this you have the class. And when you construct this button, you need this constructor, which creates an object out of it. It's a little bit similar to object-oriented programming, which we have in Java, for example. Here, JavaScript or the newer JavaScript just tries a similar language style. But in behind, there's no object-oriented programming. In behind, there's functional programming with a lot of weird behavior. But doing it with TypeScript, it's a little bit easier, and you don't have these problems of the weird behavior too. So you have this constructor, and then you can define methods. For example, like click the button. You have this function called, or method called click me, and then you change the text of this label. If you look at our component, you will see also tomorrow in Angular environment, you have these HTML, the button with the click me function, which looks like nothing. Then you style it in a more beautiful way, for example, with the background color blue and some more styles. And then you have the controller, the functionality. And this says, okay, I have the label click me, and when I click on this button, it's clicked. So what you saw here, when I click on this thing, it changes the value of the label. That easy is writing code. When we go back, let's open another TypeScript, another StackBlitz sample. no, we could use. And when you want to know, you can also use JavaScript inside your browser. On each website, when you go to the developer tools and go to the console, then you can also do the most basic thing you can do with JavaScript, TypeScript, or so on. You can do a console log, which prints out something like, hello, I'm something. And then it just prints out what you have written. Other stuff is like you could define a variable. A is 4. So I say the variable A has the value 4. So and when I just say console log, the variable with the name A then shows me the value I defined before. What I can do now, that's the weird thing of JavaScript, I could also define I am a text inside the same variable. It overrides the value. And when I now do console log, it's just working. And TypeScript actually prevents you from that kind of behavior. It will show you in your... no. We have a TypeScript sample. Wait, I think we have a TypeScript starter. Yep. Let's use the TypeScript starter. Yay. When I want to do the same thing here, so open here is the console, and let A is 4, and then I say A is a string. Then, and please keep this in mind for tomorrow, it shows you an underline which says, oh, this is defined as a number, but you want to assign a string. Here this is a number, but you want to assign a string. And you can also define it very clearly that this should be a number. And when you say, no, I want to say this is a string, then the error changes to something slow. Then the error should change. So now it's working when I define it as type string, and here A, then it's working. And it's also should be printed out in the console. Here a string. When I now say please use a number, it gives me again an error. But it will, and that's the important thing of TypeScript. Even if it's showing an error in my editor, it is still valid JavaScript, so it's still executed. And but it shows you already in your editor, okay, there's a mistake, and please correct this mistake so that you later won't have any weird issues. And by default, TypeScript defines the type as you just type it here. So here it's again defined as a number, even if I don't use this colon special syntax. But when you don't define a value of this variable, then so if I don't define a value of the variable, it will show or should show an undefined. Every variable which I don't give a value is undefined by default in JavaScript and also TypeScript. And yeah, I could do weird things, simple things with JavaScript, like multiply things. So 4 multiplied with 4 is 16, with plus, that's 8, simple math stuff. And you will have also then later other stuff you maybe tomorrow have to care about, some structures of JavaScript, like an if clause, like if A is 3, then please print out I am valid, nicht wieder valid plus thing, and if not, there's a mistake. What is doing this if? Yeah, you see already it's printed out there's a mistake. Because we defined the value with the value and the variable with the value 4, and it's checking if the value is 3, and if it's not, it goes to the else pass and just print out what is here done in the else pass. But if I just make the value 3, then you see another print out I'm valid. So this is the if structure, a very, very common thing in coding, which you will see also tomorrow. And all stuff is done inside these functions, and later you could call these functions. Let's show it here. If I call my function foo, in this case, when I do native normal TypeScript, I just have to use the function keyword. For Angular later, you don't have to use this function keyword. But here then I put my code inside. And when you now just reload it, you see, when you now reload it, nothing happens, because the function, it defines the structure of things should be executed. But when you execute this function, you do with a name and then this clauses, then it executes what's inside the function. And in functions, there are two different kind of things. One is just executing the whole statements here, or these whole statements. There are other functions who have a return, for example. Now it's getting a little bit funny, because I could say, now please execute this function and give me the result of the function as a return value to this variable. We can show it better with, we say, do it like this. We name this variable text and say text should be whoops. So, and now even so now it's x. It should be executed, but you don't see anything. Just later when you have the console log again. And you see here the value is 3. And now we are confused because we made a mistake. We just returned an A. So now I return the text which is put here to the variable. So you have these function who are returning a value, and you can put it to another variable. Yeah, and you have a const, for example. A const is saying that you can't change a value, so it's constant. So, and here you define one first value, and you can't reassign it to another value because it's constant. It's also shown in your console. So this is a lot of stuff we just go through today. I just showed you some basics of TypeScript. There's also a TypeScript playground. If you like, if you feel tomorrow in some cases uncomfortable to using it, or you want to go in more detail with your mentor, you can also go to this playground on typescriptlang.org. This is where all stuff about TypeScript is written, and you have here this playground. Oh, come on. And here it also shows you some stuff. It also show you at the end when you write TypeScript how's the JavaScript later. So how it would be transpiled to JavaScript. So as I said, it was a lot of stuff. We have nearly 8 p.m. Any question? I know, again, I know it was a lot of stuff, and for sure I know that you tomorrow won't remember everything. You always have to play around with that, and when you play more and more around with that, you get more comfortable. It's like every developer does. You learn something new and play it, and you struggle with, and then you just learn how to work with it. But yeah, this session should give you a brief overview about HTML, CSS, and a little bit about JavaScript, TypeScript. Any question? I hope nobody's afraid of.
Nothing from my side, thank you.
Or should I go back to one slide, or is there some? Anyone? No? So, and also on the web, there are also a lot of introductions to JavaScript. We also put in the email for the preparations, which you could also go through, but don't feel afraid, because you could do also tomorrow. For tomorrow, it's also very important. Do what you feel comfortable with, and when you just want to start more with just doing the basics like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, do with your mentor this, and later go further on the tutorial. That's totally okay. So the goal for tomorrow is, I think we will say it again tomorrow, is to learn together and to have fun together, and you don't have to finish the tutorial tomorrow. But when you also learn in this case a little bit more, it's also cool. Okay. Any else question maybe you have for tomorrow I could answer now? I see someone wants to talk, but I don't hear anything. Monica or Julia, I think you opened your, or Evelina.
I just want to thank you for the introduction and revision some part of it. And I can see that I need to take a look at TypeScript. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, what I forgot at the end, here, I have a link. I thought I made it shortly. So I put it here to the chat. Oh wait, where's the chat feature? Somewhere's the chat feature. No. I don't see it when I shared the screen. Cool tool. Here's the chat feature. You see the chat feature, and there you find the bit.ly link, and here you find the presentation. So maybe at the end, just copy the link, and you see, everybody see the link or in the chat?
Hi,
Yes.
I can see it, but it says access is required for.
Oh, then I made a mistake. Let me shortly. Ah, okay, yeah. I always make the same mistake because it's restricted to the ngGirls organization, and I change it. Try it again if it's working. Otherwise, I have to give you the full link.
It's okay now. Thank you.
Perfect. So yeah, go to the slides, go through the slides. Please don't judge me because of my mistakes. I still have to work on the slides, but the most stuff should be fine. Okay, then I hope I will see you tomorrow, and I wish you a pleasant evening, and enjoy. Maybe just try it a little bit stuff what you learned today, and anyway we can play a lot around more tomorrow with the code. And yeah, now it's nearly 8 p.m. and then I think some mentors came in our video stream. So I will stop the screencast.